Muay Thai is a sport that was developed in Thailand as a form of combat and eventually turned into a ring sport like boxing. Because of the competition element, Muay Thai has evolved considerably over the years to incorporate better boxing and movement. In the past 20 years, Muay Thai gyms in Thailand began to incorporate Western boxing directly into their training, which has created a new breed of elite strikers. Muay Thai or Thai boxing is a combat sport of Thailand that uses stand-up striking along with various clinching techniques. This physical and mental discipline, which includes combat on shins known as the art of 8 limbs because it is characterized by the combined use of fists, elbows, knees, shins, being associated with a good physical preparation that makes a full contact fighter very efficient. To train Muay Thai effectively, you need to find a trainer who can help you develop your skills from the ground up. While you might be able to learn a few tips and tricks from watching YouTube videos, as a beginner you need someone watching you performing the technique to give you accurate feedback on your execution. Techniques. Formal Muay Thai techniques are divided into two groups: Muay or major techniques and Muay or minor techniques. Muay Thai is often a fighting art of attrition where opponents exchange blows with one another. This is certainly the case with traditional stylists in Thailand, but is a less popular form of fighting in the contemporary world fighting circuit where the Thai style of exchanging blow for blow is no longer favorable. Almost all techniques in Muay Thai use the entire body movement, rotating the hip with each kick, punch, elbow and block. Punching, jab, cross, hook, overhand boxing, spinning back fist, uppercut, Superman punch. The punch techniques in Muay Thai were originally quite limited, being crosses and long circular strike made with a straight but not locked arm and landing with the heel of the palm. Cross-fertilization with Western boxing and Western martial arts mean the full range of Western boxing punches are now used. Lead jab, straight cross, hook, uppercut, shovel and corkscrew punches and overhands, as well as hammer fist and back fist. As a tactic, body punching is used less in Muay Thai than most other striking combat sports to avoid exposing the attacker's head to counter strikes from knees to elbows. To utilize the range of targeting points and keeping with the center line theory, the fighter can use either the Western or Thai stance, which allows for either long range or short range attacks to be undertaken effectively without compromising guard. Elbow. The elbow can be used in several ways as a striking weapon: horizontal, diagonal upwards, diagonal downwards, uppercut, downward, backward spinning and flying. From the side it can be used as either a finishing move or as a way to cut the opponent's eyebrow so that blood might block his vision. The diagonal elbows are faster than the other forms but are less powerful. The elbow strike is considered the most dangerous form of attack in the sport. Elbow slash, horizontal elbow, uppercut elbow, forward elbow thrust, reverse horizontal elbow, spinning elbow, double elbow chop, mid-air elbow strike. There is a distinct difference between a single elbow and a follow-up elbow. The single elbow is a move independent from any other, whereas a follow-up elbow is a second strike from the same arm, being a hook or a straight punch first with an elbow follow-up. Such elbows and most other elbow strikes are used when the distance between fighters becomes too small and there is too little space to throw a hook at the opponent's head. Elbows can be used to great effect as blocks or defenses against, for example, spring knees, side body knees, body kicks or punches. When well connected, an elbow strike can cause serious damage to the opponent, including cuts or even a knockout. Kicking. Straight kick, roundhouse kick, diagonal kick, half shin, half knee kick, reverse roundhouse kick, down roundhouse kick, axe heel kick, jump kick, step up kick. The two most common kicks in Muay Thai are known as foot jab and kicking upwards in the shape of a triangle, cutting under the arm and ribs, or a roundhouse kick. The Thai roundhouse kick uses a rotational movement of the entire body and has been widely adopted by practitioners of other combat sports. It is done in a circular stance with the back leg just a little ways back, roughly shoulder width apart, in comparison to instinctive upper body fighting, where the legs must create a wider base. The roundhouse kick draws its power almost entirely from the rotational movement of the hips. Counter-rotation of the shoulders and arms are also often used to add torque to the lower body and increase the power of the kick as well. If a roundhouse kick is attempted by the opponent, the Thai boxer will normally check the kick, that is, he will block the kick with the outside of his lower leg. Thai boxers are trained to always connect with the shin. The foot contains many fine bones and is much weaker. A fighter may end up hurting himself if he tries to strike with his foot or in step. Shins are trained by repeatedly striking firm objects such as pads or heavy bags. Knee. Straight knee strike, diagonal knee strike, curving knee strike, horizontal knee strike, knee slap, knee bomb, flying knee. Step up knee strike. Jumping knee strike. The boxer jumps up on one leg and strikes with that leg's knee. Flying knee strike. The boxer takes a steps, jump forward off one leg and strikes with the leg's knee. Straight knee strike. The boxer simply thrusts it forward but not upwards unless he is holding an opponent's head down in a clinch and intend to knee upwards into the face. Foot thrust. Thip. The foot thrust, or literally foot jab, is one of the techniques in Muay Thai. It is mainly used as a defensive technique to control distance or block attacks. Foot thrust should be thrown quickly but with enough force to knock an opponent off balance. Straight foot thrust. Sideways foot thrust, reverse foot thrust, slapping foot thrust, jumping foot thrust. Clinch and neck wrestling, chop ko. In Western boxing, the two fighters are separated when they clinch. In Muay Thai, however, they are not. It is often in the clinch when knee and elbow techniques are used. To strike and bind the opponent for both offensive and defensive purposes, small amounts of standard grappling are used in the clinch. The front clinch should be performed with the palm of one hand on the back of the other. There are three reasons why the fingers must not be intertwined. 1. In the ring, fighters are wearing boxing gloves and cannot intertwine their fingers. 2. The thigh front clinch involves pressing the head of the opponent downwards, which is easier if the hands are locked behind the back of the head instead of behind the neck. Furthermore, the arms should be putting as much pressure on the neck as possible. 3. A fighter may incur an injury to one or more fingers if they are intertwined, and it becomes more difficult to release the grip in order to quickly elbow the opponent's head. A correct clinch also involves the fighter's forearms pressing against the opponent's collarbone, while the hands are around the opponent's head rather than the opponent's neck. The general way to get out of a clinch is to push the opponent's head backward or elbow them, as the clinch requires both participants to be very close to one another. Additionally, the non-dominant clincher can try to swim their arm underneath and inside the opponent's clinch, establishing the previously non-dominant clincher as the dominant clincher. Muay Thai has several other variants of clinch, including arm clinch. One or both hands controls the inside of the defender's arms, and where the second hand, if free, is in front clinch position. This clinch is used to briefly control the opponent before applying a knee strike or throw. Side clinch. One arm passes around the front of the defender with the attacker's shoulder pressed into the defender's armpit, and the other arm passing around the back, which allows the attacker to apply knee strikes to the defender's back or to throw the defender readily. Low clinch. Both controlling arms pass under the defender's arms, which is generally used by the shorter of two opponents. Swan neck. One hand around the rear of the neck is used to briefly clinch an opponent before a strike. Defense against attacks. Defenses in Muay Thai are categorized in 6 groups. Blocking. Defenders hard blocks to stop a strike in its path, so preventing it reaching its target. For example, the shin block described in more detail below. Redirection. Defenders soft parries to change the direction of a strike. For example, a downward stab to a jab so that it misses the target. Avoidance. Moving a body part out of the way or range of a strike so the defender remains in range for a counter strike. For example, the defender moves their front leg backward to avoid the attacker's low kick, then immediately counters with a roundhouse kick. Or the defender might lay their head back from the attacker's high roundhouse kick, then counterattack with a side kick. Evasion. Moving the body out of the way or range of a strike so the defender has to move close again to counterattack. For example, defender jumping laterally or back from attacker's kicks. Disruption. Preempting an attack. For example, with defender using disruptive techniques like jab, foot thrust, or low roundhouse kick, generally called a leg kick, to the outside or inside of the attacker's front leg just above the knee as the attacker attempts to close distance. Anticipation. Defender catching a strike, for example, catching a roundhouse kick to the body or countering it before it lands. For example, defender's low kick to the supporting leg below as the attacker initiates a high roundhouse kick. Punches and kicks. Defensively, the concept of wall of defense is used, in which shoulders, arms, and legs are used to hinder the attacker from successfully executing techniques. Blocking is a critical element in Muay Thai and compounds the level of conditioning a successful practitioner must possess. Low and mid-body roundhouse kicks are normally blocked with the upper portion of a raised shin. High body strikes are blocked ideally with the forearms and shoulder together, or if enough time is allowed for the parry, the glove, elbow or shin will be used. Midsection roundhouse kicks can also be caught or trapped, allowing for a sweep or counter-attack to the remaining leg of the opponent. Punches are blocked with an ordinary boxing guard and techniques similar if not identical to basic boxing technique. A common means of blocking a punch is using the hand on the same side of the oncoming punch. For example, if an orthodox fighter throws a jab, being from the left hand, the defender will make a slight tap to redirect the punch's angle with the right hand. The deflection is always as small and precise as possible to avoid unnecessary energy expenditure and return the hand to the guard as quickly as possible. Hooks are often blocked with a motion sometimes described as combing the hair, that is, raising the elbow forward and effectively shielding the head with the forearm, flexed biceps and shoulder. More advanced Muay Thai blocks are usually in the form of counter strikes, using the opponent's weight as they strike to amplify the damage that the countering opponent can deliver. This requires impeccable timing and thus can generally only be learned by many repetitions.